Hello, welcome to the Xpress-pay Knowledge Center. My name is Melissa Rogozinski, and I am the Education and Training Expert at Systems East. I'm also the host of our video and podcast series. Today's episode is starting a mini-series on secure or not secure. We're going to be discussing public Wi-Fi, websites, and mobile apps. Today's conversation is a general overview on whether or not public Wi-Fi is secure. Our guest is Jesse Conway, Senior Support Representative here at Systems East. Hi, Jesse. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
So, Jesse, public Wi-Fi comes with a variety of settings and configurations and security. Recently, we discussed encryption here at Systems East. How does encryption affect public Wi-Fi security?
Well, this is a good question, Melissa. So for our purposes, encryption at its most basic level is the encoding of a data transmission between 2 points. For example, your PC may encode a data transmission between your computer and perhaps a switch on your network. Now, when we refer to network-level encryption, this indicates a standard for the amount of information encrypted in a transmission over a network. So while it's possible that once your machine is inside a network-level encryption could be enforced. However, the point of access may not be. This means that the information submitted wirelessly between your computer and the point of entry is vulnerable to being intercepted. Kind of like going into a high-security bank but having to cross a street potentially full of pickpockets in order to get there.
So let me ask you this, Jesse. Is public Wi-Fi centrally maintained and secured by the businesses that offer it for public use?
Well, that's a good question. And if the access points are centrally maintained, this would be a good indication that there is a policy in place to enforce various levels of encryption across the network, which is excellent. However, you never want to make this assumption. One of my college professors always used to say that once you are on the internet, assume that anything you type, post, or submit becomes public information instantly. And now, while this may seem to be a bit of an extreme postulate for small public networks, taking a defensive posture certainly is not, and could save you unnecessary headaches. So how is a potential access point secured? Well, up till recently, there have been 3 protocols that guide wireless security: WEP, WEP, WPA, WEPA, and WPA2, WEPA2. So those are the 3 primary ones that have been used in the past, and then they're coming out with WPA3. It's making its way into the industry. So when connecting to a wireless access point, such as a router, a good rule of thumb is to always attempt to check which of these protocols is in place, if any. You will still find that older protocols such as WEP and WEPA are being utilized in some networks. These protocols have a much higher susceptibility of being cracked in a relatively short period of time. So if at all possible, try to only connect to access points that use WEPA2. One of the ways you can do this is to pull up the wireless settings on your laptop or other mobile device. Generally, the protocol will be displayed for the network you are connecting to. And if you are on a network using older protocols, a good rule of thumb is just to treat the information you submit as being publicly visible.
So often when we are connecting to a public Wi-Fi, say at a coffee shop or a library, we are often asked for our email or some other form of registration in order to gain access to that Wi-Fi. Should users be concerned about this?
Well, with regard to network portals, it seems that almost all public wireless access points these days want you to provide them with an email address and occasionally a password or even your credit card number. Generally, you never ever want to enter any information into one of these portals that you would not share with a random company, as it is possible under most circumstances for an attacker to impersonate one of these portals. Even if the access points provide strong network-level encryption, an attacker can set up a man-in-the-middle access point to impersonate the legitimate one and overwhelm it using a stronger antenna and signal. So here's a question to ask. Does the access point you are using seem sluggish with lots of network errors? And if the answer is yes, it may not be a poor configuration, but instead you could be under an attack.
So Jesse, just to wrap up our conversation, we've been talking about whether or not public Wi-Fi is secure or not secure. We've talked about how encryption and businesses centrally maintaining their own public Wi-Fi, and also registration in order to access public Wi-Fi. Is there anything else that you would like to offer our audience about whether or not public Wi-Fi is secure and what they should be thinking about when using it?
Only to summarize some of what we've discussed. Public Wi-Fi access points are a reality for most of us if we travel or work remotely. However, it is important to be aware of the risks present and to make sure you do everything possible to mitigate them. So while you may not always know for certain, try to use access points that are centrally managed and thereby probably better secured and patched. If possible, check the security protocol used by the access point using the wireless settings on your device like we discussed. Also, keep in mind that most wireless attacks require the intruder to physically visit the area of the access point in order to launch an attack. In the case of older unpatched access points, intruders can remotely take over the access point using publicly patched security vulnerabilities and then put your computer and data at risk from anywhere across the globe. It really boils down to the old adage of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So simply following some basic steps to try and look into where you're accessing a wireless network publicly, knowing what their security policy is, and just generally checking to see what type of protocols are in place for the access point that you're hooking in through.
Well, folks, that wraps up our time today. I want to thank Jesse for joining us to discuss whether public Wi-Fi is secure or not secure. If you have any comments or feedback, or you would like to be a guest on our show, you can contact me directly with the information that follows this interview. And that's it for today. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you the next time at the Knowledge Center.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Or if you have an idea you think we should discuss, leave it in a comment below.